So one of the biggest questions I get from like all my coworkers at work when I tell them I love breeding fish and I love keeping fish and this is what I do, the most common question they say is, wait, what do you do to keep them alive? Every time I buy a fish for my kid, it always dies. And I'm like, dude, like, do you not get any information from the pet stores? Like, what's going on with all your generic pet stores like Petco, PetSmart? I just don't understand why they don't inform people of what they gotta do. I walk into PetSmart all the time. I walk into Petco all the time and I see guys walking around with a 2-gallon, matter of fact, walking around with one of these, trying to pick out some big feeder goldfish or like 6 freaking tetras or something. And the people at the store will sell it to them. What the heck? So I figured I'd make a little video explaining what you have to do to dechlorinate your water and to keep your fish alive, like to set up a tank. So what we're gonna do is, I got a 10-gallon outside. We're gonna go get it and we're gonna set it up the proper way. Let's get it.
So let's go ahead and find a filter.
No, it's gonna be dark.
This is definitely over filtering. This is a Aqueon 2.0 or 20, but it'll have to do. You won't need it this big.
So what will we need for this project, you may ask?
You'll need this filter. This is a hang on the back filter. You can find them at your fish store. You'll need a tank. Usually you want to start with the biggest tank you can afford or the biggest tank that you can fit wherever your living situation. This happens to be a 10-gallon. So this is what we'll be setting up. Some decorations for your fish. This is all I have for decorations really, because I don't really keep your decorations. I'm not a very decorative man. Well, at least for my fish tanks. But anyways, if we're gonna go cheap and ugly, we gotta get the green rocks. You know how we do. Matter of fact, we're gonna go a little extra. We're gonna go with the nasty blues. Let's get it.
All right, so let's start with our tank. We got the 10-gallon. We're gonna go ahead and drop the rocks in here. You wanna make sure you've rinsed this. You wanna make sure you've rinsed this out and cleaned it. And you wanna make sure you've rinsed out your rocks, which both have done way in the past. All right, there you have it. You want to have at least about an inch flat all the way across. If you get too much rock in your tank, it's gonna have a lot of poo-poo, a lot of bacteria from the fish, and all that poo-poo is gonna make the fish die. So you want to make sure you don't put too much rock, but not too little. So next, let's get your decorations in there, whatever you got. This is what I have, this is what I got to work with. So I'm gonna go ahead and decorate with the little I've got. For some reason, when it comes to 10-gallon tanks, I like viewing them like this instead of from the sides. This tank has been through some stuff, so as you can see, you can't really see through it. I'd have to clean the outside. I'm not going to. You have a brand new tank. So at this point, your tank is fully decorated. Let's take a look.
So with the little bit of decorations I have, I've created this masterpiece. And this is the viewing we'll be getting of the minnow tank, or whatever goes in here. Maybe a goldfish or some guppies. Maybe this could be the new guppy tank. We'll see. Give me some ideas down below.
Now that we got our tank set up, I figured we'd talk about placement, filtration, heating. This will be the heater that most people would buy. This is a little Aqueon. It's a cheap one. It's for like 10-gallon tanks. Would work perfect. If you don't have a fish room like we do, or myself, and your room isn't at an adequate temperature, and here stays at around 80 degrees, so most of my tanks I don't have to heat, or I do keep a heater in them, but they don't work most of the time. So for this tank right here, I won't need a heater, But if you do need, if your house stays at a cooler temperature or your room temperature fluctuates a lot up and down, I would suggest you go ahead and buy a heater. This is a little Aqueon heater. You can find at PetSmart or most of your local fish stores. You can find this. This is probably one of the cheapest heaters you could buy. These are like 20 bucks, I believe. They have the little matted filters that looks like a little mat. I don't recommend those. Those are for your fish bowls. Another thing you want to buy is a water dechlorinator, which will dechlorinate your water, because your local city water, unless you live with a well, your local city, like if you get city water, they put chlorine or Clorox tabs into the water to make it safe for human consumption. But that will kill your fish because they live in the water, they breathe in the water, and it burns their gills. So you must make sure you buy some water dechlorinator. I kind of like to use whatever handy at the store, but most of the time I look for the Prime, which gives you the most gallons out of the bottle, because it doesn't take much for this to dechlorinate your water. But most of your cheaper brands you'll need a lot more to each gallon. So I would suggest you go with Prime. You may also find that the API tap water conditioner will give you almost just about the same amount as the Prime. But if you get the Stress Coat, you're not gonna get as much out of the bottle. But the Stress Coat does come with that aloe, which helps heal your angelfish fins and helps with stress. So, I mean, it's kind of worth it, but the Prime is really all you need. Now let's talk about nutrition. Depending on what fish you keep, you might want to feed a fish pellet, a flake. It all depends on what you have. If you're just getting started, you're probably starting with some guppies, some tetras, some neons, really anything from the pet store. So I would just go and grab you some like generic little flakes and then move to pellets, because pellets are also a lot cleaner than flakes. Flakes will get your tank a lot dirtier. Now that we got the food portion cleared out, let's go ahead and talk about cleaning. You will need a hose, a little siphon ball, and a tube to gravel vac. This is the most important tool in fish keeping. This is what's gonna keep your fish alive and your tank from stinking and looking nasty. When you go and have a setup tank with gravel or rock or whatever, you wanna make sure you gravel vac at least once a week, and you don't overfeed, because you don't want all that food just chilling at the bottom and rotting. That's disgusting. You don't want to live in the trash can, do you? Fish don't like that either. And the last part, and all this applies for betta fish also. If you go to the store and find the betta and they tell you, oh, they can live in a little tank, they don't need heater. Yes, they need a heater, they need ventilation, they need air, they need everything a regular fish needs. Bettas are not any different than your regular fish. So the next thing you're gonna need is an air pump. An air pump to blow air into your tank and agitate the top of your tank so they can get oxygenated. Is that how you say that word? I think I've always struggled with that word, so don't pick at me. But anyways, so you're gonna need a lot of surface agitation so you don't get a nasty film and your fish stay alive. Let's go build or finish building this tank now. Positioning of your fish tank is also very crucial. You don't want to set it next to any doors or windows, because the windows will create a lot of algae from the natural sunlight, and the doors will make the temperature of the tank fluctuate, which could shock your fish and kill them. I keep a filter pad always cycling, because you never know if you're going to need a med tank or if you run out of space and you're going to need them. But most of the time you're going to be starting with a brand new one. This is what we're working with. So it's clear that I need to go get a new pad so I can start cycling it, but this will do for a project. Let's put it in the filter, and look how pretty. Matter of fact, let's put this filter back here. Beautiful. Get this airline back right here. Boom, done. Let's get some water in this baby and let me show you how to dechlorinate it. One thing I forgot to mention is I'm not going to be using a light, because obviously it's very well lit in here and it doesn't need one.
These guys do need one though. Look how dark it's in there. These guys won't. They'll be fine. Let's go get some water in this tank. Let's go ahead and start the dechlorination process. So the dechlorinator honestly does not need to be put in a 5-gallon bucket and then treated and let set. You can actually dechlorinate your water as you're adding it to your tank. I don't usually take. You want to do your right dosage and a little more. So now that it's dechlorinated, we're gonna wait for it to fill, and we'll start this filter. As you're filling your tank for the first time, you want to make sure you fill up your filter too, so it doesn't make a dry screeching sound. And you want your filter to be pre-soaked so your carbon's activated. And this stuff can't overfill, so don't worry. Just keep filling. See, it starts pouring out. It won't pour out of the back, so no worries about that. Now let's get this filter started. No screeching sound. Boom. We got our filter going. We got our air stone blowing. I don't know if you can see it. So if you have an idea as to what we should add to this tank, that'd be awesome. Leave them down in the comments and I'll take everything into consideration. I may add a few minnows just to make sure the tank is 100% ready for whatever's going in there. But I think the minnows are gonna do awesome in this tank. I did it, guys. I added some minnows. They're freaking out. We'll see how they do in here. This has been another video with Andy with Andy's Angels. I hope you guys enjoyed this little instructional video on how to get your fish tank started. Please take a note of everything that was said. Do not harm these fish. I know most goldfish are very cheap, but they also have a heart and a life just like you. So don't forget, take care of your fish, maintain your tanks, and always watch Andy's Angels videos. Peace! How do you dig the tropical fit though? Huh?